It's good soup.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review House of the Dragon, Episode 9, The Green Council. A lot of counseling happening here. A lot of counseling happening before the episode, because Alicent's like, King's dead. Otto's like, roll out. Got all the plans, got everybody in their positions. You're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. Alicent's like, wait, hold on here. I support this, but I wanted to say, that's the best part of Alicent, is that this episode she's literally trying to have her cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
you know, she wants to start a war without killing Rhaenyra. Impossible. As Cersei Lannister once famously said, play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. So now it's winning time for Team Green.
Yeah, like her, like, just basically being on the same page as Otto, but just the difference being, oh, maybe we just let Rhaenyra live and let her, she'll be fine, right? She's not going to want to come back and claim her birthright. And Otto's like, that's not how this works. I thought you were picking up on this. What happened here?
Yeah, come on, Leslie. The other episode, you were grabbing the knife, you stabbed her. We need that Alicent back.
I miss the old Alicent.
Stabby Alicent.
Yeah.
Not complacent Alicent. We'll just send her a nicely worded letter. Maybe she'll take a boat over to Pentos.
Kristen, she loves... You floated that idea to her once, right? She was all about that.
Yeah, try that again.
But yeah, I think this episode was pretty great. I mean, just the penultimate episode for this series, and I think what they did so great was, like, I felt like you really felt the pressure of the situation or the weight of it, and things had to move quickly. And I think the pacing there for the first half of that episode is actually done very well. Because I think we talked about it before going into this episode, like we wanted to see that in real time, them trying to figure this out and what to do now that the king is dead. Once they got going and got the council together and tried to make all these moves, I think that played out actually really well, and it was very entertaining to watch.
Right, like Beesbury is sitting there with his head open, and Otto's like, close that door until our business is finished. Maybe we should dispose of this corpse. I was just like, no, we got more important things. And even the infighting between Otto and Alicent, both trying to find the king so that they can direct how this succession is going to happen, so that the ascension in Alicent wants it to be, I guess, less bloody, and Otto wants to find Aegon, secure him, and then take out Rhaenyra. So, you know, there's some differences there, and I thought the tension between Otto and Alicent, their differing perspectives on how things should be handled, was very interesting.
Yeah.
Because...
No, Otto had a whole Order 66 ready.
He really did. He had all his stormtroopers ready. And we haven't seen Alicent confront her father about what he's done to her. We've talked about it on all the reviews about how he's been, like she says, using her as a chess piece, moving her around the board. Doesn't really matter how she feels about it. And she's done everything that he's asked, but now she wants to take matters into her own hands. If we're going to actually do this, then we're going to do it my way. And I think her way is still very flawed, but it always makes for interesting storytelling when two characters can be perceived as antagonists, but they're not necessarily on the same page.
No, and I think with Alicent too, like, and I like the character of Alicent, and I think, like we talked about, her life has been kind of, she has no agency. She's been used as a pawn and kind of thrusted into this situation, and she's just trying to make the best of it, right? But she's also, like, very intelligent, and I think she knows the implications of if she goes on with, it's not a lie to her, but with this... of her version.
She knows what she's doing, yeah.
Yeah.
She tells Otto about it.
And to think that it can all play out peacefully. Now, I think one thing I maybe could have cleared some of the air is if Otto pushed her to tell the council, where she was maybe unsure of what to do with this information. She tells her father because that's the closest person she has, knowing that if this gets out, what it means for Rhaenyra, what it means for her son, what it means for the whole realm. And once she tells the council this information, realizing that they have a plan in place and that they want Aegon to begin with, it's easy for them to just kind of be like, okay, this is what we're doing here, when it could have been like, the situation just got away from her, right?
Yeah.
But her going to the council meeting and offering that information up right away about Aegon, that kind of just sets the snowball effect that she's kind of causing right now.
Right, yeah. She's definitely not innocent in the matter of them usurping the throne.
But it's also, even if she didn't hear that information, Otto had this plan in place, and I think it probably would have taken place anyway.
Right. And you definitely see that she is caught by surprise by all the plans that they've already made. You see it written all over her face. It's almost like she became the new Viserys in this episode. The indecisiveness, the weight of the decisions, and Olivia Cook once again delivering a great performance. But just one look at her, you could see that the weight of the Seven Kingdoms is now, or she feels that it's on her shoulders, because she still has feelings for Rhaenyra, whether it be romantic or platonic. That was her childhood friend. So the idea of killing her, taking her throne, after knowing how close Viserys and Rhaenyra were, after knowing how much he loved her, doesn't sit right with her. But it is an ugly game that she finds herself in the midst of. So, like I said in the beginning, having your cake and eating it too, because you can't do both. You just can't. It's an impossibility, and that's what Otto's trying to tell her.
I never got that phrase before, because every time I've had cake, I've eaten it too.
Well, then you don't have cake.
You know what?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she wants the throne and she wants Rhaenyra to live. Can't have both.
She already finished the cake.
Right.
There's no more. But that council meeting was great. I mean, with, like we said, most of the members already kind of knowing what the plan is there. And Lord
So
Beesbury, man, he had his...
Pour one out.
Yeah.
He had his moment.
He had his Lionel Strong moment. You know, honorable guy. Lionel would not have stood for any of this. None of this would have happened.
Lionel would have fainted. I always got such a kick out of Barristan Selmy when Cersei ripped up the paper. Those were the king's words.
Those were the king's words.
We have a new king now.
That was Beesbury here.
Yeah.
I've known Viserys for longer than all of you. He would never say... Well, the way he was levying accusations, too. Once again, it's like Vaemon. I know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go out with a fight. We don't know what happened to him. Are we sure that he died naturally? You saw him in the last episode. I think he may have died naturally, Beesbury, but still...
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he changes his mind at the last minute, and the only one there to hear him is Aegon's mother. How fucking convenient is that?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
it sounds like absolute, even though from Alicent's perspective, you know, it could be true, but still, it's
everyone knows how
ridiculous.
ridiculous it is. No one believes Alicent, but they don't care.
Yeah, no, they don't. Right. It's just whatever, straw that they could grasp.
Well, and I like the characters that have some semblance of honor that are like, no, I'm not going along with this. Lord Commander Westerling. I mean, he hates Kristen Cole. He's been around this guy for so many years. He knows that he's just a little fucking worm. And he was ready to he murdered the man.
He did.
And he was like, remove your cloak. And then, ironic enough, it's him who removes his cloak by the end of the scene.
Yeah, an honorable man. I think he's always just been in the background and had this honor about him. Not a lot of lines.
I hope... I hope one of his ancestors doesn't end up fucking everything up for Robb Stark.
I don't think that will happen.
You don't think so?
No, definitely not. But Kristen Cole continues to just separate himself from the pack as the biggest scumbag probably in the show, because it's just the people that he chooses to attack. Obviously, we saw him take out Daemon in the tournament, so that was impressive. But what he did to Joffrey, and now what he did to Beesbury, Joffrey was just making a little joke.
He gives Eric to work later. Eric. Fuck those parents, by the way.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, that was impressive. Right.
I actually had fun with Kristen Cole and Aemon's little adventure.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of that.
But they were a nice duo.
I could have used like a filler episode of them two, getting into shenanigans and Flea Bottom.
Yeah. But yeah, he ends up failing upwards. Multiple murders in front of everybody, and now he's Lord Commander. Kristen Kingmaker. I
wish, one of the changes from the books, I wish that they would have given Kristen more of a role and pushing Aegon towards the throne. I know that's something that does happen in Fire and Blood, and that's why he does get the nickname Kingmaker, and a lot of people blame him for the Civil War because of that. So it looks like they replaced that with Alicent, when Alicent and Aegon have that conversation, and he's like, Dad never wanted me to be king, and she's like, well, he left you his cool knife. He's like, wow, he left me his cool knife? Maybe I should be king.
It's a badass knife.
Right. I don't know if they could have fit in a scene with Aegon. I guess with Aegon working under Alicent, he's just going to do whatever she says. Yeah. He's always going to take her side. So they don't find Aegon first, but like you said, he takes out Sir Eric, or Eric, whatever one.
Well, even with Aegon, like, the setup with Aegon and Aemon are very interesting. And we talked about it a bit on the spoiler discussion, how I wasn't really, when they basically showed Aegon to be like a sex criminal. I think if you leave that out, that leaves this character to be very flawed and very morally, he's not a good guy, but I think there's an easier path to be like, oh, I kind of feel bad for him in this situation because he is so damaged from his upbringing, and him and Aemon display it in different ways where he's very outwardly, and he doesn't want this at all. He doesn't want the responsibility, but the inclusion of that scene from last episode, it makes you be like, oh, fuck this kid, I don't care about him.
He's kind of like Targaryen Homelander. I think there are ways where you can acknowledge he's got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
He should be locked up for the rest of his life. But there are moments when you're like, oh, his dad never loved him. And he clearly knows that Rhaenyra was supposed to be heir. At least he's not an idiot. At the very least, he has an awareness of this wasn't meant for me. I just want to get on a ship and go away and be an asshole somewhere else.
But I think you can use that, like, I don't know, it's just I guess a different way of viewing this character through a lens, especially in that moment where he is just like a lost dog and he's being thrust into this situation where I feel like if he was just an asshole rich kid, you can kind of sympathize with that. But now you're like, yeah, well, also you're a fucking scumbag, so who cares what happens to you?
I didn't sympathize with him, but I understood him,
yeah.
if that makes sense. And I thought the performance was really well done. You know, he's clearly just wants nothing to do with this. And like you said, the differences in the way that they carry themselves, where Aemon talking about, oh, I read books, so I should be the king. So he's got this outward appearance of being a bit more noble and a bit more regal, whereas Aegon is reckless.
Like the eye patch just throws everything off.
No, it does. That gives you a hint that he's just an asshole too.
Yeah. I don't think good people have eye patches.
That's a literary device, right?
Well, he like, that kind of shocked me a little because like the vibe I got from last episode, I think he's ambitious, but I never thought like throne ambitious.
Maybe a little insecure.
Yeah.
Also, he totally left out Aegon's kids. He's like, I'm next in line. I don't think that's how it works, but what? Okay, Stannis.
Yeah.
Good throw. No, well, Renly.
Renly just skipped everybody.
Yeah, no, Renly, yeah, that's Renly and Aemon. They would have been an odd pairing, but they'd get along because of that.
Renly's claim is nobody likes Stannis.
Yeah, that's Aemon's claim too. It's like, oh, nobody likes Aegon. I don't think anybody likes you either. But yeah, we got some valuable information from that character instead of him just standing, getting a little insight into how he's thinking. And I appreciated that with Aegon as well. I think those scenes go a long way of just him sitting with Alicent and talking about his father. I could have used more scenes with Viserys and these kids to establish how little he actually cared about them. Maybe it was a combination of his illness and wanting to side with Rhaenyra and ensuring her position because of how vulnerable it would become. We now see that playing out, but I guess it's like I said, I appreciate the insight into how these characters are thinking. Even though they are being set up as antagonists, you could see how they're conflicted with things as well.
Well, as much as Alicent to us is the face of the Greens, unlike paper, it's Aegon because
right, and that's why it's so important to find him.
Yeah.
Because that's how they establish their position.
Well, especially that lockdown, keeping everything under wraps, imprisoning everyone who knew any of this information, the handmaids and whatnot, and imprisoning Rhaenys, locking her in, keeping her out of the loop, because I guess this is they need to get this done right away. They can't risk anything getting out to Rhaenyra or anybody defecting. Having the Lord swear fealty, just real quick, buttoning up, Aegon's the king now, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you don't want anybody crashing that party.
Yeah, well, he's beneath the boards.
Poor Helena, she saw it coming all this time.
She just wants to, I don't know what she wants.
Play Animal Crossing.
She seemed like an Animal Crossing type,
Collect the butterflies and all the insects.
But yeah, shutting it down, keeping it under wraps. Otto and Alicent playing their own game of who can find Aegon first.
It made for great drama, this episode. The chase was on. Who could find Aegon? Who's going to direct how this ascension is going to happen? So like I said, between the tension between Otto and Alicent there. And it was a great scene between them. But, Alicent and Rhaenys, another great scene. Rhaenys basically saying to Alicent, I'm going to side with Rhaenyra because she's cooler than you. You don't even realize that you are still a prisoner, metaphorically. You've been moved around this chessboard. And what did she say? That she's just fighting for a window. So that could be her one. That is the freedom that she is seeking, just to have some sort of perspective on these things.
Well, yeah, like you mentioned before, like everything we've talked about with Alicent is being portrayed here. And I think this is an important scene for Rhaenys because as we know later on what happens and kind of, the back and forth we've seen from fans on what should she have done or why did she make that decision. I think this is a bit of a window into her mindset going into that, where she does see Alicent as a mother, and I think it's something where
she did check her with that line of, have you never imagined yourself on the Iron Throne? Basically saying your ambition is little. You're fighting for your son, but why aren't you fighting for yourself? That's kind of why I'm riding with Rhaenyra.
Well,
because she wants to put her bum on the Iron Throne.
Well, she's still of the mindset like we can end this peacefully, and Rhaenys is like, no, we can't.
Yeah, that was a line that really turned Rhaenys off.
Yeah, and I kind of like that, what they were trying to show throughout this episode to differentiate the blacks and the greens. Well, more specifically, I guess, Otto and Rhaenys, where Otto is very much like, no, killing a few for the better good that's the right thing to do. Where Rhaenys, at the end of the episode, she decides against that by killing hundreds, if not thousands, of small folk. I draw the line. I can justify killing small folk. I draw the line at ending a war.
I won't kill my own family.
Yeah.
But I will kill your family.
But we'll get to that.
Random people's families.
In that moment, I think that's one of the things that helps show where Rhaenys is at this situation, where she's not super high on Rhaenyra still, but that's still her side, with her granddaughters, and that's pretty much the only family she has left at this point.
Yeah, and in that scene, she does admit that she respects Alicent's intelligence. It kind of catches her by surprise that she's able to understand the situation so well, but it still isn't enough to bring her over to her side. So it was a valiant effort by Alicent there. If you bring over Rhaenys, you have not only her influence, but you have her fucking dragon. But I always love these scenes between characters on different sides. You don't know where they're actually going to land, and then you do see it at the end of the episode.
And going back to characters having to make these decisions of, how far does their honor go when it comes to this? You saw some of the small lords swear fealty. Some of them kept their word, which is an impossible situation to put them in. It's basically like, we'll go to prison or bend a knee right now. And we see even within family lines in Kingsguard, Eric and Eric.
Yeah. Eric is the one who's a little hesitant to embrace this. And it's Eric saying, bro, we're in King's Landing.
Yeah.
I don't know if we really have a
where
choice
are
here.
we right now?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're going through all this trouble to all these seedy places to find the next king who doesn't want to be king?
That was really disturbing. Kids fighting with long nails and sharpened teeth.
Yeah. Ugh.
Credit to Massaria for stomping that out. Well,
she's a big small folk.
She got a promise from Otto. We know how far royal promises go in this world.
Otto in his disguise.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Otto in his disguise with his fucking hand of the kingpin just gleaming in the light.
Who the hell is that guy? It's just a replica that he got off Etsy. They always think that just the hood is going to disguise them all. Aemon with his fucking eye patch, chiseled face.
I mean, Cole had a little hat.
Cole did have a little hat, yeah. No, that works. That actually threw me off. I was like, oh, Kristen Cole in a little hat.
Who's that?
Yeah, who's that? Just Kristen Cole.
Or even Aemon when she's like, I know you because you have an eye patch.
Right, yeah. Well, talk about keeping it in Targaryen tradition, taking your younger sibling or younger family member to a brothel. So Aegon did his best to try and turn Aemon into a freak like him, to get pleasures from cruelty. And I guess it is Aegon who is more like Joffrey, just gets off on cruelty.
But I think Aegon's self-aware.
Right. No, that is a good point. Joffrey's so stunted. Aegon's like, this is who I am. And I don't hide it. I'm not ashamed of it. He should be ashamed of it. It's, and he ends up with Massaria. So Massaria did have the opportunity, like she said, to kill him. So in a way, she is the kingmaker here. Without her.
Yeah.
And it shows how powerful she actually is. She's got eyes and ears everywhere. When the king goes missing, she's the one who knows where he fucking is. So
it's always talked about knowledge is power, or power is power, depending on, I forget who won that little debate. Cersei, because she had all the soldiers. But when you think about it, it is knowledge, because that's...
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah. You take from
I think she was being a little too cocky in that moment.
Yeah. Well, she had just fucking dudes on deck ready to kill Littlefinger.
Well, maybe she was right, because then when Daenerys came through with a better power...
Dragons are power.
Right.
Yeah.
She's like, oh shit, I didn't factor this into my equation. But that was it's a nice little showdown between Massaria and Otto. And like I said, those scenes just add so much to the world, where you have two schemers, two masterminds. And Otto, for so long, he's always gotten his way. And now he gets to be brought to his knees a little bit. And then it still blows up in his face because Kristen Cole beats the shit out of Eric.
Remember when you said Massaria's accent got better last episode?
I don't think it did. Sounds like the same accent.
Yeah, no.
Which, you know what, at this point, it is what it is.
Yeah,
I think it would have not benefited the show, but benefited the actress to just allow her to speak in her speaking voice, because she's a great actress, and I think some people are now wondering if she is a good actress or not.
No,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, she's been good in other things, so. But yeah, I mean, the knowledge of Like, she obviously knows about the king through her network of spies, and we learn that they've kind of allowed this network to run in the Red Keep.
Every time Allison needs to get something out of Loras, this is the transaction. It's showing him her feet. So he offers to take out this spy network. And that's why he was giving her those googly eyes in these previous episodes. Because he knows whenever she wants something from him, he gets the feet.
Yeah. It's like, I received those Piggly Wigglies. You received the news.
Those Piggly Wigglies. Wow. I love to imagine that. I don't love to imagine this, but I'd like to imagine that it happened naturally one day.
No, I was
Allison
trying to
just
wrap my
kicked back.
head around, like, how did that first transaction happen? Was he just like, she's like, oh, thank you, Lara. It's like, what can I do for you? All this good news you bring me. Like, what can I do to repay you? It's like, oh, what, show me your feet. And they're like, oh, that's so funny. But like, seriously though.
See, I think he's enough of a sex criminal and a freak to just start doing it right in front of her like Louis C.K. In one of these secret meetings they had, that he just started doing it when she took off her socks, and she put it together, oh, this is what this freaky man likes. So it's this sort of unspoken chemistry that they have, like Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire on the lob. It's one of those scenes that you know what's happening, but you think that maybe it's not happening. You see him grabbing for his pants, and she's got her feet out, and they do make it, there's an emphasis on her feet when she first takes off her socks. So at that point, you're like, okay, feet. Then all of a sudden, he starts pleasuring himself, and you're like, wow, this is actually happening. This is disgusting.
So it's like the modern day Smith, the feet pick trade.
Yeah, no, she was ahead of her, centuries ahead of the times.
Good for her. Well,
I know.
She doesn't seem to be liking it.
I don't think she likes any of this. Like everything else that she's had to put up with, she just puts up with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, every new scene with Loras is just, he's more of a freak. I love the way he was watching Sir Otto make those lords swear fealty. Just kicking back, having a great time, just off to the side. This is awesome. All right, guys, before we get to the second half of this review, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, Smile Brilliant. If you're like me, you're probably confused by all the variations of teeth whitening on the market. Items like LED lights, whitening strips, charcoal, and whitening toothpaste might sound good in theory, but they don't fully get the job done like one of Smile Brilliant's custom-fitted whitening trays. LED lights will accelerate the process, but they won't make your teeth whiter, and could lead to teeth sensitivity. Whitening strips totally neglect gum lines, crevices, and molars. They work, but your remaining stains will become more prominent. Charcoal is abrasive, and wears down the tooth enamel, while whitening toothpaste only works on surface stains. But with one of Smile Brilliant's custom-fitted whitening trays, you can freshen your smile without worrying about damaging your teeth or leaving behind any noticeable stains. Historically, whitening trays were only dispensed by dentists at a price of $300 to $1,000. That all changed when Smile Brilliant came up with their innovative Lab Direct process that is not only less expensive, but far more effective in achieving that picture-perfect smile we all crave. And right now, you can visit smilebrilliant.com and use promo code NERDSOUP to save 20% off all products, including their custom-fitted teeth whitening trays or custom-fitted night guards if you're someone like me who grinds your teeth in their sleep. They also have a great selection of professional oral care products, such as electric toothbrushes, water flosser, dental probiotics, and much more. And remember, that's promo code NERDSOUP for 20% off all products, so don't wait, click that link, and take care of your teeth. It's so important. So important. You know, the whole episode had this jittery atmosphere to it, that these characters know what they're doing is illegal. They are usurpers. They are taking Rhaenyra's thrones, but they're going to go ahead with it anyway. So when you see the Lord who tried to hurry out of there after bending the knee, and then he's just hanging randomly in the Red Keep, the atmosphere is telling everybody that these are the bad guys, at least for this episode. It didn't feel like they were making them the protagonists of their own situation, that they still kept them as antagonists, as villainous. So I appreciated that from the showrunners, the writers, giving us this perspective of people who are betraying their oaths.
Well, like I said, like this was, well, like they told us, this was already in the works. And I think, like, no matter what happened, if Viserys never said what he said to Alicent, they were still going to move forward, probably along the lines of, well, firstborn son. That's how succession works. Alicent tells him this information. It's like, oh yeah, we'll go with that.
It just adds to the story.
That actually works, yeah.
Right.
We'll use that.
That is a good point, that all of these, the plans were already going to be set in motion regardless. And Viserys, man, the body's not even fucking cold. And Otto's already ready to crown Aegon the king. You just feel bad for that man. He was just there. He was just alive. We spent so much time with him. Once you're dead, it doesn't matter in this world. Everything you wanted, everything you put in your will.
But it's Aegon doesn't want it. Alicent doesn't want it. Otto does. So, like, that's
he's the new Time One.
Yeah.
It's all about his legacy because, Aegon gets to sit on the throne, but you're going to be the one with the most power.
He's such a good character, too. Like I said before, everyone hates him, right? Because he's just one of those characters, but he's just so fun to watch.
Yeah, the speech he gave when he was coronating Aegon, so much confidence, so much cockiness. Finally, his life ambitions are coming through, and that smug smile on his face, you just want to wipe it off.
Like his body's going one way, but his head's going the other way, but it's like up in the air.
Yeah. He keeps his chin high.
Yeah, high chin.
Right. Look at that.
Right,
yeah. And the line that he says to Alicent after she calls him out for all the manipulation, "You look just like your mother." What? She's so disgusted by him after he says that, just walks out on him. And people picked up on him calling her Rhaenyra's childhood companion, that maybe there was an actual romance between them. So that's where a lot of the tension does stem from. Otto doesn't have the love for Rhaenyra that Alicent once had.
Yeah.
So you see that, even though it's been years since they were children, Rhaenyra was an important person in her life. She had an emotional impact on her, and it's sort of hard to let that go. Otto Hightower, another good episode for him. And like I said, just having that presence, that Tywin / Littlefinger presence in the show just makes everything so much more interesting. Yeah, and I thought the way the coronation was set up, it was epic. Setting it in the dragon pit, having all the city watch when Aegon is walking out, lifting their swords. He seems hungover, but eventually he starts to embrace the situation when he realizes everyone's cheering for his name.
It's actually pretty neat.
The fit was immaculate. The Targaryen fit, the crown.
No, the looks to it too, all the shots, like it was very kingly. And like, it's so funny because this could be viewed as this was a character we liked, and him coming down in that way and him embracing the role, it would have been like a sick fucking triumphant moment, like hell yeah, let's go. But we don't like this character, so we're just like, fuck this.
Yeah, you can't even enjoy it.
Yeah, but even like the city watch shoveling in the peasants to watch this take place, they don't know what's going on. Like, oh, new king, okay, woo, let's go, yeah, all right.
Jaharis died?
I gotta go back to work. But you see Rhaenys and Eric getting lost in the fray there. Well, he comes and breaks her out because he makes his decision. Also, like Westerling to be like, fuck this.
Yeah.
This is not right. What's going on here? I don't want to be a party to whatsoever.
See, okay, so you have the coronation. It's great. Aegon realizes everybody likes him. He's like, oh, you guys want to see the sword? I can take out the sword.
Blackfire,
yeah,
baby.
It's a sword. And then, Rhaenys is watching from the crowd, and then all of a sudden, Rhaenys has disappeared, so she breaks into the dragon pit, and she shows up with Meleys. First of all, we'll get into the logic of the sequence. As a monster moment, it was horrifying. That was probably the scariest I think a dragon has ever been in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. And the reactions to it, the way Aegon is curled up and huddling with his mother, he is shitting himself. Aemon loves it. Aemon's like, I got a bigger dragon. I keep that thing too, so come around this way, you will get clapped. But overall, the way that it's just stomping and killing people, and it's dusty, you can't make it. I was petrified in that moment watching that. So I thought it was a very visceral, terrifying moment. Like I said, probably the scariest a dragon has ever been. And to see Rhaenys on the armor, whew, looking so badass. And that's one of the great things that this show has done is giving them those detailed armors. So in those moments, they look and feel like true warriors. That's a Targaryen dragon riding warrior.
She caught him lacking.
Right. So then the logic part of it, people are saying that they've traded in logic for spectacle once again.
Well, they did
like
that with
in
Daemon.
episode 3.
Yeah. Like we talked about before, like her mindset going into that thing. And like, I do appreciate like the, differentiate between, we're not going to kill a few here to end a war. Especially that being her family and the moment. And basically, she doesn't even know what Rhaenyra wants at this point. She can go back to Dragonstone and Rhaenyra will be like, who cares? Let him be king. Or,
yeah, I'll bend the knee.
We don't want a war. It's not her decision to make. I think what they said in the post episode is like she had this morality about her that she didn't want to kill Alicent as a mother in front of her children, like have that happen. But but just killed many mothers and many children, making her grand entrance. And I get that she has to escape the dragon pit because it was probably blocked off by thousands of people, but I feel like you could still, like, you know, dragon in the way, beep, beep. It looked sick, though, and it was fucking entertaining as hell. And it was such a great moment.
Well, it's one of those things where you have to headcanon it. So I've seen a lot of people try and spin it different ways.
A lot of mental gymnastics.
Right. Rhaenys doesn't care about the small folk, and it represents how the rich and the powerful never actually do.
Sure.
But I don't think that it's going to be something that's addressed in the show. Just like with Kristen Cole killing Joffrey. If we would have gotten a moment where Alicent's arguing with King Viserys, this is why he should stay on, and there's a little back and forth, then I'm okay with it. But I am a little upset that they haven't addressed that more directly, and I don't think they're going to address what Rhaenys was thinking in that moment. I mean, you could argue that they imprisoned her, so her back was against the wall. She doesn't want to leave behind her dragon. She's got no choice. It's either I can escape and never see Meleys again, or I could break Meleys out of here, and if there is going to be a war, I'm going to have my most powerful weapon by my side. And I imagine they care about the dragons. It's not like the dragons are just there to be rode around and light things on fire. They have a nice little rapport. That's her little buddy. So you could justify it that way. And also you could say, you know, people want these characters to be more complex. We don't know who we want to root for. Everyone's kind of immoral at times. That she just did a horrible thing. And she's just like, I'm a badass because I could do that. You know, when my back's against the wall, you know, I'm going to fight with my dragon.
And obviously the show ends if she says Dracarys. So, like, it's just...
right, and that's the other people saying, oh, she doesn't want to be a kinslayer because kinslayers are so frowned upon and they're cursed in this world.
Guess what? There's a civil war about to break out between a family, so...
No, not just yet, right? Nobody's declared war, so you're not in war.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something where, like, it is. You can make arguments either way, and it was such a spectacle that, like, it's fun and entertaining. I just, like, wish with Daemon, I feel like when he's dodging all the arrows on the stepstones, like, it makes for a fucking cool ass moment, but when you sit down and think about it a little, it's like, well, maybe, like, you wish there was maybe a more clever way they could have portrayed him dodging and navigating through that to get to the crab feeder. Here, same thing. It's like, it was a very cool moment, but maybe there's a different way you can still invoke the same emotion that you were going for without leaving that area for people to be like, well, that kind of, it makes sense in this way, but it kind of doesn't make sense if you think about it that way. But at the end of the day, like, I don't really care.
I was stunned by that moment. I think with Daemon, I was more aware of how ridiculous it was. I was still enjoying it. But this moment to me, like I said, just as a monster moment, the pure terror that was evoked from her escaping from that dragon pit, Otto telling them to open the doors, let her get the fuck out of here. We don't want to be trapped inside with this fucking dragon. All the chaos, all the confusion. And like I said, the reactions from the Greens, realizing what they've started. They think that this is going to be a nice celebratory day. Aegon ascends the throne, and we'll deal with the Civil War later. But the Civil War has just arrived on your doorstep, and the visual of the dragon's neck approaching them, and you don't know what she's going to do in that moment. Is she going to maybe not take out all of them, but take out one of them? Aemon and Helena seemed more impressed by the dragon. Helena loves these creatures, and Aemon is just gets a hard-on whenever somebody commits murder.
Yeah, well,
but I don't know. For me, the moment
No, it was cool.
was just awesome.
I was thinking in my head, like, obviously she's going to escape and get her dragon. And I thought, like, maybe she was going to do, like, a flyover where they looked up and were like, oh, fuck. Like, I think this definitely makes a more epic and kind of bigger message sent. But maybe they could have done it a different way where, like, she wasn't, like, pressed for time at that point when she's already in the dragon pit. Like, she didn't have to, she could have waited for it to clear out. If you want to, like...
Well, she could have just sit there on Dragonback waiting.
Take a nap.
A little Dragonback nap.
But no, I think you want to send a message, let them know that, like, we're coming for you, and like, I could have, but I didn't. You're lucky. That's not going to happen again.
Right. People are going to say she could have ended the Civil War right there, but it's an intimidating moment. She obviously screams in their faces, and like I said, the spit's going all over the place. Aegon can't even look the dragon in the face. So he's having this great time. He's showing off the sword. He's acting kingly. And then when it's finally time to be brave, to stand in the face of your adversary, he chickens out, and he's hiding behind his mom's skirts. While Alicent's like, this is also terrifying, but I've got a bit more courage than my son over here. So, it could just be a badass Michael Corleone moment, right? At the end of the day, these people are all mobsters. So them not wanting to kill their family but being fine with killing the small folk kind of tracks.
Yeah, no, I think that I've seen that point a lot, and I think that is like they're just basically they're meaningless.
It sucks.
Yeah, but I just don't know if that was their intention.
No, that's the other thing. If there was more of an intention, like if Rhaenys had a line of, you brought this on them.
Yeah.
She's trying to blame them for her actions, or...
I guess you can point to the Missaria thing of earlier in the episode of her being a champion for the small folk and the citizens of Flea Bottom, just to show how disregarded they are or ignored by the higher-ups, and that kind of being showed on screen later on in the episode in real time of how little they care about them. That matches. So... yeah, I think there's a lot of ways you can go with that. At the end of the day, I loved it. I wasn't expecting it, and it was just fun to watch.
Talk about a big stepper. Just came in there fucking stomping people, wagging the tail, throwing motherfuckers everywhere. It is very disturbing to watch, but man, is it epic. And like I said, it was like a horror monster movie moment. They've done that several times with the dragons, but for me, this was the best dragon moment that we've gotten all season. Yeah, it's hard to justify because you have to go, oh, they don't care about the small folk, but she's honorable when it comes to kinslaying. But they've got weird customs, man. They're all fucking weirdos and backwards. Royal blood means more to them.
Yeah.
So with episode 10, it looks like we're going to get the perspective of the Blacks when they learn about King Viserys' death. So that the episodes were taking place at the same time, and maybe they intersect when Rhaenys arrives at Dragonstone to let them know what's actually happened. So, episode 10, I imagine it's going to have very similar vibes. But like I said, the perspective of the protagonists, if you want to call them that. So they're going to be thrown for a loop. Rhaenyra's expectations are going to be ripped to shreds now after hearing this news. And I just can't wait. It's going to be a great corresponding episode for 9 and 10 where we're going to be able to look back on both of these episodes as the combined finale of season 1.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that, the way they're splitting it up there. That's interesting to see the different perspectives. And yeah, obviously in the preview we see Rhaenys at Dragonstone, and I think Eric, this is going to be annoying. Does he get paid twice? Is it the same actor, right?
I think you do get paid twice, yeah.
That's got to be a pain in the ass. He's got to shoot at both locations then. If one's in King's Landing, one's on Dragonstone.
I know, right? They got the hologram.
Get your bag, bud.
Alright guys, that does it for this video. Thank you for joining us for this review. For Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, I am Beau Oliver. Before we sign off, I want to quickly spotlight our weekly podcast, the Nerd Soup Podcast, published every Wednesday at noon. Every week, you could join myself, Aaron, Teddy, and the rest of the Nerd Soup crew as we discuss the hottest stories in movies and TV, equipped with some off-the-cuff commentary on the world of pop culture, while also providing extended reviews for the movies and shows we love. You can subscribe to our podcast channel on YouTube at the Nerd Soup Podcast, which can also be found on our Nerd Soup homepage, and you can listen to episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and all of the podcasting platforms we publish to. Thank you again for joining us on this review, and we will be back next week to review the season finale of House of the Dragon.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcasts, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Beau spelt your name wrong in the credits.